You're listening to the MLS Fantasy Insider, bringing you weekly tips, tricks, and advice for the official MLS fantasy game.
Should have like a remote control.
Hello, and welcome everyone to the MLS Fantasy Insider. So excited to have everyone with us tonight as we're getting everything going. Home stretch of the MLS fantasy season. Yeah, not too many left right now. Let's see here. Working on getting the social out. Let's see here. I lost my little document. There it is. I'm going to have to rearrange my mic for next year. There we go. So here is on Twitter X. Got the social out there as always. If you would not care to like and subscribe on this YouTube, then that would be awesome. It helps us, and you can hit the bell notification if you want to get more information about when we go live. We always go live, always. Very often, we are live on the Mondays before the round for MLS Fantasy, just so we can bring you the little hints, tips, and tricks, and all that good stuff. If you are on Twitter, the social media has gone out, so if you could just retweet that, that's what I was going for before. That would be super helpful there as well, just to spread the word, and then putting out the information on Discord. Right now, I guess it would help if I put the link there. I was trying to explain what I was mentioning Discord to my wife, and she was like, "Now, what is that?" And I just said, "It's a chat room. That's what it is. It's just a chat room. We're gonna go with that." And so that helps. So okay, there we go. Except the edit. Why didn't it ping? There we go. Everyone. All right, there we go. Social is out there. Of course, I know before you all start asking.
Recording in progress.
There we go. We are recording in progress. Yeah, Eric already beat me to it. What's up, Eric? What's up, Shannon? Hey, Gene. How are you all doing tonight? So happy to be here. Let's see here. Make sure I got all my tabs sorted out. Speaking about the end of the season, we are 3 rounds from the end of the season, guys. Is that not wild? 1 double game week left in the round, and then we finish with a 2-week round. So very fitting. The final 3 weeks of this season are very fitting with the crazy that is MLS. So all right, but we are here to talk about this round 28, and since everything is going, looks like we got pretty good numbers, so thanks everyone. Let's see here. Listening tonight while staying up late watching the Commanders game. LOL. That's a good way to spend your time, Black and Red. That's a good way to do that. So I think that game might have been on when we were out eating tonight. So maybe it was something else. I don't know. It was in the background. Okay, here we go. No water.
Oh, I didn't grab a water. Oh no.
Are you making fun of me?
No, I really didn't grab my water.
All right, hush. Hello and welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of round 28 of the 2024 MLS Fantasy season. This episode is brought to you by Rotation Risk, because nobody ever really knows what MLS is going to do. Actually, brought to you by the amazing MLS Fantasy Insider Patreon supporters. It's because of you that we are able to keep this project going. Find out more about our Patreon over at patreon.com/MLSFI. I'm your host, Reid Connolly from MLSFantasyBoss.com, and tonight I'm joined by my partner in fantasy, Christian Ward. We'd also like to welcome our special guest, Tyler Ranchinator Norman. How are you doing tonight?
Doing alright. How y'all doing?
Doing well. Happy to have you guys here as always. We're coming in on the final bits of the season. So how do you guys feel about that?
Well, I have mixed feelings. I'll just be honest. So I'll just hop into the recap here. 172 points for me, round rank 318, overall rank 64. Let that sink in there for a second. Um, all right. Um, anyway, on a positive note, how about them loons?
How far down are you from your best rank of the year?
I was in first place in for 2 weeks.
Hey, that's an accomplishment too. And your loons did well. We had, as
Yeah,
you
the
pointed out,
loons.
we had our MLS Fantasy Insider Derby.
Oh, we did. Oh,
Was that
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I actually, yeah. All right. Um, Christian's not very with it tonight, so let's just give me a little, break here.
you're good?
All right. So loons, yeah, loons were good. Loons, Kelvin, the Minnesota Kelvin Yeboahs are doing very well. Um, went up there and won at Sporting for the first time I think ever, and we not only won, we beat them 2-0. Um, I'm pretty sure that's an actual fact, not a Christian fact that we've never won in Kansas City. Um, so I just want to talk a little bit about the LA Galaxy. Tyler reminded us just before we went on air that the LA Galaxy have set an MLS record for attacking. They currently have 4 players with 10 or more goals for the first time in MLS, which is quite a quite an accomplishment. And I kind of think that, unless Vanny decides to, either goes crazy or decides to start heavily rotating people, I think that's probably going to that momentum's just probably going to carry them right into the playoffs and through. I really think they're firing on all 4 cylinders. Get it? And I really think that if you don't have at least a couple of those guys in your team every week, I think you're probably doing yourself a disservice.
Except for this week.
Yeah, they're on a bye this week, unfortunately. But when they're available, I should have put the asterisk on there. When they're available, they should be seriously considered, if not always perma-nailed onto your team. However, their LA rivals, LAFC, aren't doing so hot. Like I kind of feel like there's some discontent going on in that side, and I really think that you can see it in the players. The frustration on some of the players' faces is pretty evident when they're out there, and it kind of coincides with. I don't know if I'm making this up or if this is real, but kind of coincides with Olivia Giroud starting to get minutes with the side. They were really clicking along there without him. Kamara was coming in and doing okay, and they seem to have some chemistry. But now it's like they can't even complete a pass. But anyway, um, plus you got Carlos Vela coming back, and he's probably kind of like an honorary signing. Probably need him for the locker room or what. I have no idea why they signed Vela again. Um, but yeah, it just seems like there's no depth to that team. It seems like there's that fixture congestion has really gotten to them. So my big question is it too early to stick a fork in LAFC and just not even maybe consider uh Buanga at home with a favorable matchup? Uh, I don't know the answer to that. Maybe we could talk about it a little, but um, next item on my list is does Nashville now have a pulse, or is this a flash in the pan moment we're seeing from Mukhtar and Surridge? They really tore it up this weekend, and they got some decent scores, and I mean, I don't know. This is the hardest thing for me as a fantasy player gauging when these teams are going to click. Like it's so hard to predict that. Like, same personnel has been on the field for Nashville the entire season. They've sucked the entire season. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, like they put a string of games together where they're like their old selves and they're unstoppable and that kind of thing. So that's the hardest thing for me. I gotta admit that's what's probably been nerfing my season. Why I'm now at 64th instead of top 10 where I expected to be. Because it's hard. It's hard to predict that stuff. Um, anyway, uh, one last player that I want to talk about is Alexei Miranchuk. He seems to have either been told or decided on his own to actually shoot the ball. Like there was a point in time, I remember this last year, where Adrian Heath had to tell Reynoso, stop being so selfless, be selfish in and around the box, shoot the ball. And apparently some of these guys, these number 10s have that mentality where you have to tell them that, which is weird. But um Chuck, he's taking shots now, and he's actually scored twice. Scored his first two goals in two consecutive games this weekend, and it makes me happy because yeah, I have him in draft. Well, it doesn't make me happy. It makes me less frustrated with Chuck. That's what it makes me. But anyway, I'm glad to see some signs of life from Atlanta. Um, I kind of feel like they probably oversold this year and didn't replenish, or thought that they replenished, and that guys like Miranchuk, another guy that they brought in, Amador, has been doing very well too. I don't know if you are even looking at Atlanta, but next week during their double game week, they have a seriously plum matchup, two matchups, where a guy like Amador and guys like Amador and Miranchuk are probably very good options. But anyway, um, last thing I want to say, since I'm supposed to be the double game week recap captain cap thing guy, um, I I'll talk about that for a second. So I still see a lot of people like stranding players on their bench in a double game week when you really shouldn't be doing that. Like, the only time that you should strand a player on your bench during a double game week is if you specifically picked that player and said to yourself, I'm picking that player, they're boom or bust because their second fixture isn't as strong, or I don't know, or I'm I consider that second fixture to be like just gravy. If they hit in the first fixture, anything else is gravy. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with that philosophy either, but what I'm saying is, like, always put people on the bench if you can, who have a stronger first fixture or a first home fixture or whatever on your bench. Um, and and at the same time, those people should be boom bust players. Um, and by having like, if you put somebody on your bench with a very strong first fixture and a weak second fixture, then that kind of technically makes them boom bust, doesn't it? So uh, that's what I would say. Pick players like that on a double game week, and you shouldn't have to strand them unless you intentionally do that, because like your fifth mid or whatever on your field is, you have a plan in place for that. Like, both their fixtures are strong, you know, so you get, or both their fixtures are medium strong. You know what I mean? Like, so that's that's what I would urge. There's way too many people I saw in Gen Chat this game week that were just willy nilly stranding players, and then Saturday comes around, they regret it because, oh crap, I left 11 points on the bench, or oh crap, I left 12 points on the bench. any double digit points you leave on the bench is probably bad. So you want to avoid that. Just have that little system in place. It's a different way of thinking than regular game weeks are. So um, thought I'd recap that. But by and large, this double game week was really good in terms of scores. I really think that LA just put a lot of people over the top, and Evander, holy cow, just amazing performance from him. Um, all right, so that's all I got to say for my little bit. I mean, my long bit. Sorry.
Your spiel.
Tyler.
Yeah, I had a somewhat rough score because I went for kind of a differential captain. I went Mihailovic over Pooch, which in theory, Mihailovic was a great pick, especially looking at highlights. His team just wasn't finishing their chances. He should have finished on like 20 points in game 2 alone. So I'm just gonna add an extra 11 to my score, Ashley. So I finished on 169 points, which was round rank 392. And I dropped down to rank 12 from I think I was rank 9. So only a three rank drop isn't that bad in the overall. Some kind of takeaways. Orishano is a legit good replacement, especially because he replaced Barial, who we've all known as one of when he was listed as a defender, one of the best defenders that you could take. And I feel like if Orishano was listed as a defender, he would be that guy that we take every single week.
Absolutely.
His scores have been pretty ridiculous when he does boom. And even when he doesn't boom, he's still scoring like 6 points, 4, 5, 6 points. Like he's in that nice range for like a floor midfielder, but he can boom for 16 at any time, which he's done 1, 2, 3, 4 times this season. He's gone over double digits as a midfielder who plays left back. That's pretty crazy to me. Speaking of crazy though, Baribo and Philly, I forgot how good Philly is on DGWs. If anybody has been in this league long enough, like done fantasy long enough, you guys all remember that taking Julian Carranza on a double game week is just a given. That's what it feels like with Baribo now. Baribo is just that good, and his last 2 double game weeks have been ridiculous too. He scored 23 this game week. He scored 10 the one before, and then he scored 21 the one before that. Like the one before that was an 18. He literally is Julian Carranza on a double game week. So I think it's the position of that like second striker next to Uwa over the player. As long as they can finish their chances, they're a great player. And they didn't have like amazing matchups, but they did have good ones. So I know we're on week 28, but looking ahead at week 29, they have another double game week. It is double road, but keep that in mind when it comes up. Speaking of though, Columbus, man, if anybody is like me and picked a Columbus defender, I'm sorry. They love to rotate right now. And Nancy himself said that he's going to try to make things unpredictable in his lineup, in his 11 going forward the rest of this season, because he wants to give all of his players rest and help them be prepared for playoffs. So he even told us that your players are not safe for fantasy, even if they're only going to play 45 minutes and then get subbed out, Rosie, or stay on the bench and come in for 45 minutes and score 20 plus, Cucho. Two more people to talk about. First off, Anderson Julio for RSL, kind of a sleeper pick that's been doing pretty good in this new system with the new guys. Feels like he's stepped up to be like the Carlos Andreas Gomez. And lastly, I think Jesus Ferreira might be coming back. Like he's almost all the way back. I know one of his goals was a free kick where the goalie wasn't even looking, but I think he's on his way back. All right, Reid, what you got?
Thank you for that recap, both of you. So I've seen some fantastic scores in chat already. We've got people who are just killing it, as we have all year. So I have to move. I'm going to rearrange this mic next year. 191 down to Arglass. Very, very nice right there. Fantastic score. 174 for Black and Red, which is great. Simplement 186. Gene with 160, and that's with captaining Messi. I've seen a couple people talk about captaining Messi in here. So this was definitely I'll get to that. Christian did that as well. Yep. I'll get to that. So myself, I ended up with a 175. I'm happy with that. I did not win all of my head-to-heads. So there were definitely, I mentioned in chat that 175 felt like an average score. I was overall rank for this week. Sorry, I was round rank 256 for this week. So you can see how much difference between Tyler's 169 and mine 175, just those 6 points there, over 100 round rank with that score. So this was probably an average score in the 170s, was kind of an average. From where I was, it was definitely better than average. I went up to overall rank 56. I was right at 60 or 61 when this round started. So pretty good for just where I'm trying to be overall. Not bad, but definitely people getting 170s, 180s, 190s, not off the book. Very common for people, especially in the higher areas here. It all fell down to who, of course, you picked, because we had some monster scores this round with some awesome captains, and there was a lot of confusion that came in with these early lineups, especially when Columbus dropped, when Miami dropped. I was sitting out some messages being like, look at these lineups, have your backup captains in place, which this is why at the end of the show we always say, all right, you can't get your first captain, who's your backup captain? My plan was to go with Pooch, and that's who I went with, and it worked out really well for me. I mean, I kept Messi on my bench because I was aware that even coming off the bench, he can do just absolutely bonkers things, and so he was worth having on my bench just for that reason. But I did not do the same with Cucho. Swapped him in for Rossi. That was fine. Definitely not the best score that I could have had. And then my midfielders did fine overall as well. I'm gonna jump right to Mukhtar, because we went back and forth some about this last week. Do you not? Do you do? And I had said, if you get a great score, come at me in the comments when we come back from this. That is absolutely allowed on this show. Like, if you got the call, come in and just celebrate the call. Mukhtar did fine. He is well out of the top echelons of players. He got 13 points. He got an assist in each round. I mean, he got offensive production in each round. I think you're really hoping for more than that, though, from that type of player in a double game week. I think you're hoping to at least get in the 20s. You're hoping he's getting at least a double-digit score in each of those rounds. So 13, not awful, but there were definitely a lot of better midfielders to have gone with. We talked about a lot of them. Some of them just came right out of left field that we weren't even really looking at. But yeah, Evander was leading the pack right there. Oriano's not one that people have often gone with. Tommy is not a guy that we mentioned. We did mention Gazdag, though. And so after that, it starts to get pretty close with some of these scores. But a lot of big players right there. I did get hit by that Columbus rotation, as Tyler was just mentioning. It was really rough, and then also trying to figure out what to do with the Miami rotation. Those really had an impact on my final team when we at the end of the day. I ended up going with Gressel, which didn't work out, but I was like, maybe at least like I can get 2 out of him. And the biggest surprise for me was LA Galaxy. I agree with what you guys have said right there. Some of those were just crazy. The thing I will say from Nashville is we've seen 3 games where they've gotten some production. So I think if you're looking at some Nashville guys, that for me, they've done enough that I might be comfortable with having somebody on a bench That could be a place where you could put them. But I'm still not all in on Nashville. But they've had some consistency with some of the results they're putting up. So on a single game week, I could see this being a bench play. I do also want to call out Montreal though. They drew 2-2 against New England at the beginning, and then they held 2-0 against Chicago at the end, which that doesn't seem just out there, but they're starting off in one of the 7:30 slots this week against San Jose, who's already eliminated from the Cup. Not a strong team. That could be something to keep an eye on. They've had some form there, but they are a team that I was like, okay, I'm gonna remember this going into this next round to see what schedule we have. But we'll get more into that coming up. Other than that, I think you guys have covered a lot of what was just important to take away. I will jump on the Cincinnati bandwagon to talk about Oriano, and that he can always do well when Lucho's being marked. And if you try to mark both of them, then we got Kubo there in the wings. And so it can be potent. Definitely not the go-to. Definitely more of a differential option, especially if Lucho is in the mix. But been a fantastic player to go with this week. And I was also very happy to use Barreal as one of my Aru players this week. So I still got to throw him into my team, which is the power of the Discord with keeping up with all those players who are out of the game. But yeah, not a whole lot to take away. I mean, it was a wild round. This is what you can expect these last few rounds. If you haven't looked ahead, this is a regular round. The next round is a double game week, and then the final round stretches over 2 weeks. So this is just peak MLS, and it's going to be really important to know which teams are and are not in the playoffs, which teams are or are not playing for home field advantage, because that will impact how they play, and that is exactly something we're going to cover coming up next in our housekeeping section.
Are you wanting to state the eliminated teams?
I have them up. It's
Okay.
I mean, it's San Jose and Kansas City.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty short list.
New England is very close to being eliminated too.
Mm-hmm.
Is it New England? No, Chicago.
Yeah,
Well,
New
both,
England is
They
at
have a
the
game
bottom
in
of the
hand.
table. So yeah, there.
But they do have a game in hand.
Technically, there is a chance. Montreal could play in, and so we'll talk more.
Miami is basically sealed for first. Not quite, but basically.
Miami. Anyway, all right. Let's see here. Let me get the social ready. Ooh, I'll remember to change the thing. There we go. I forget. Had it all prepped up. I was excited to be able to do the little screen swap for the segments this year, and I've forgotten it more times than I have remembered. All right, let's see here. Post. Dink, dink. All right, there we go. There's the social out on Twitter. Again, please be so kind and retweet that message so that we can get the word out. So there is that. All right. We'll get into it. Hello and welcome back. We're talking housekeeping going into round 28. Not going to recap the leagues because we've had a lot change and want to get to a lot for this segment. I will say, though, that if you're in some of our head-to-head leagues, this is when the playoffs have started. So the table is done, and now we're going to start going down through the playoff system, which is always so much fun, especially in the MLS Fantasy Insider Hosts Invitational, which has a very, very tough lineup. I will cover that one real quick just for the coming up. We've got Draft Kicks. We've got Freeze Everybody Clap Your Sands. MLS Fantasy Boss versus CF Rockfo. Boy Named Sue versus Moran Don't. And then we have Agater Walter My Rosarios against Fantasy Soccer Data. So big games coming up here. We got 4 big matches as we work our way towards the finals and the hosts invitational. So super fun, very much so looking forward to that. But let's talk about the games that are coming up for round 28. So everything starts on Saturday, September 28th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the usual Apple TV kickoff. And so we've got a lot of teams who are going to be playing in that 7:30 slot, spaced out very nicely for you to be able to get your fantasy rotations in with the Roos. With LA Galaxy having the only bye week, no one's on a double, but LA Galaxy is on a bye, as we've already mentioned a little bit earlier in the show. It's going to be very easy for you to get your Aroos, Keeperoos, Switcheroos, Autoroos all prepped and ready to be able to take advantage of that. Now, do keep in mind, as I mentioned at the last segment, we have several teams who have already either clinched their spot in MLS Cup or have been eliminated from MLS Cup. Starting out with the teams who have clinched the spot: Miami, FC Cincinnati, Columbus, LA Galaxy, Real Salt Lake, and Colorado have all clinched their spot guaranteed for MLS Cup. Be aware of any rotations that these teams may have, particularly since Columbus has already started doing this. It is potentially possible for Cincinnati or Columbus to catch up on, to catch up on Miami for the Supporters Shield. Very tough, I would say, for that as a possibility. So just keep an eye. Columbus does have a game in hand, so they have the best shot like that, but expect some rotations coming up, which we've already started to see from these players. Other than that, we have two teams who have been eliminated from MLS Cup, and that is San Jose, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, and Sporting Kansas City. So these teams are gone. They could also equally start having some rotation to get some younger players playtime. You never know what's going to happen, though, with these decisions that these coaches are making. But just keep an eye on those teams, as there could definitely be a bit more of the hashtag because MLS than we have seen thus far, which is crazy to say, but it always happens. Now, of course, we do the best that we can to try to help you know who may or may not be available. And tonight we have the extra special treat of having our very own Tyler being able to go through his own list to talk about the players who you should be aware of that may or may not be available for this round. Tyler.
Yeah, let's start with the one that everybody loves, the MVP of the league. Evander is out this week on yellow card accumulation. We have Debbie Flores, the holding mid for Toronto, is out. Iera Mendy for FC Dallas is out on yellows. Dylan Barrero picked up a red card, which was literally back-to-back yellows for arguing with the ref. Santiago Rodriguez for NYCFC picked up his yellow and is out for accumulation. And Strehanaj Tanasaj hold up, I got this. Tanasajevic for NYC
Not so easy, is
on
it?
yellow accumulation. That one is really not easy, to be fair. And then we have Noah Allen for Miami out on yellow card accumulation also. For injuries, I only saw two, so correct me if anybody saw more. Chris Durkin for St. Louis picked up an injury. I did not research what type it was, but I thought he was subbed early for it. And then we have Titar Musa for Dallas. He had a knee-to-knee collision, but his coach is saying that he's good to go. Some extra information just to keep in mind for possible rotation risk, though, is we have 5 teams that are on a DGW this week. Not a real one, but a fake one. We have Columbus playing in Capiones Cup. Vancouver and Toronto are playing in the Canadian Championship Finals. And then you have LAFC and SKC playing in the US Open Cup Finals. So they likely will go all out in those games and then rotate on the weekend. So just keep that in mind. That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you so much for those updates. Don't forget that if you are interested in keeping up with the latest in player availability, then head over to the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord channel, go down to our fantasy tools section, and look at the mega reference. There's all sorts of resources that are there for you to look at, but the mega reference is a great collection of players who are on set pieces, players who are on DGWs, who are on bye weeks, players who are no longer available but are still in the game, so that you can be a guaranteed no worry for having your Aroos activated right there, as well as the trackers that we have for players who are absent on warnings and are on call up. So it's a super fantastic tool. If you've not checked it out, there's only 3 rounds left. Why have you not checked it out? But head over to mlsfantasyboss.com/discord. It's the easiest way to be able to access our Discord community and start chatting with some of the best players in the game. So coming up next, we're going to be talking about the players who we are targeting going into round 28 right after this. Okay. Let's get...
Gotta put my glasses on so I feel smart.
It's okay. Get switched over. There we go. Oh, you guys, you moved. You turned your camera off and it moves you around, and then it swapped the names on the...
It did?
It did.
I'm having my
Zip.
alternate
Oh, let me do that
identity.
again. That sounds fun.
I'm just in my alternate identity right now.
Not fun. I fixed it.
He put on his glasses. Kent Clark out
Yeah.
here.
You got
There we go. The bearded loon. There we
Kent
go.
Clark.
the bearded loon. That sounds like a good
Clark
pub
Kent.
name.
Sorry.
That could be your team name next year.
It's like Caden
Keep
Clark.
that one and go with it.
Nah, it's got to be loon juice.
That's
Gotta be
fine.
loon juice.
All right, here we go. No water. Hello and welcome back to our final segment, the players who we are targeting going into round 28, a single game week. A quick little reprieve from the crazy before more crazy starts. Starting as always with keepers and defenders. Christian, who are you looking at?
I'm on the bench. I'm putting panic, and then on the field, I'm putting despair.
Oh, well, that
In other
works.
words, Blake probably goes on my bench. Either him or Celentano, believe it or not. To Stephen Fry. And by despair, I mean I really don't think Sounders are probably going to keep a clean sheet, but we'll see. For defenders, I like Cincinnati this week because they are playing. Let's see, who are they playing? Oh, look, it's LAFC, the team I bagged on earlier. So they are going to probably go full bore, like Tyler said, in this in US Open Cup. They're probably going to they're already gassed. They're already tired, and they're going to go out and do the US Open Cup. So they're not going to have anything left until, like the end of the season, probably. So I'm banking on a clean sheet. Well, okay, they're on the bench. So I'm taking Awazium. He's got a pretty good average. He gets some bonus points. No, he doesn't. Forget I said that. Anyway, I'm taking him anyway because I like Cincinnati. I clicked open the thing and there's 0 bonus points right there. For some reason, I thought he got some bonus points. But he's got a pretty good average anyway, and what the heck. Defenders are a crapshoot. The rest of my defenders are known for their attacking prowess. Jordi Alba and Kai Wagner. Jordi Alba is just, like a juggernaut. Sometimes he's a red card earning juggernaut. Same as Kai Wagner, to be honest. But Kai Wagner, he takes set pieces, and he's got a pretty decent chance of doing something against Atlanta. Either a clean sheet or maybe an assist or something. Maybe he gets a cross, bonus point or 2. Who knows? Alba, he's not getting a clean sheet, probably. Jackson Reagan is my fallback, mainly because Reagan is one of those dudes that's very much like a wild card. You never know if he's going to actually score a goal or get sent off. I mean, I like Reagan a lot. I think I'm going to just keep him there. I don't think they're going to get a clean sheet against Houston. Um, it's iffy. It's iffy. I mean, that match could be 0-0, honestly. What do you think, Tyler?
Okay, first off, Reagan's only been sent off one time this season,
All right, fine.
and he has only gotten one yellow since that send off, which was in week 9. Anyways, I don't think that game is 0-0. I think there's a lot of goals in that game.
Really? Why?
We'll talk about that in the midfield section.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, it's your turn anyway, isn't it? Let's see.
Oh, is
Yep.
it?
Yeah.
You don't want to talk
I'm done
about your
talking.
backups? So your backups?
I don't even bother. Well, okay, sure. So I don't think Vancouver is even probably worth looking at. The only reason, I mean, in terms of defenders, I think the only reason I have them there is because of convenience and because they play late. And I don't want two Seattle defenders. Uh, so maybe. So Vancouver's also playing a midweek game. They're playing the Canadian Championship, and they're going to be probably gassed. So they'll probably, I don't know, it's debatable because they rotated heavily this last game. Okay. They were in danger of losing it. So they stuck a couple of starters back on, like Gold, at halftime. But I don't know. I don't think, center backs, they don't tend to like rotate a lot. So I'm thinking maybe Udfig gets a lot of bonus points, maybe. Without Evander there, they still have Rodriguez, but who knows? I mean, like, defense is a crapshoot this year. I mean, like, you just want to get like somebody who can score a goal, put a head on a ball in the box, and maybe it'll go in. And Udfig seems like the kind of guy that would do that. Veselinovic earns probably more bonus points, but Udfig is probably a better chance to score. And you could also go with one of their wing backs, Raposo, if he starts. I doubt he's going to start. Who's the other one? Not Ahmed. Ahmed's injured, but Laborda. He's the third. He could be a third center back, or he kind of gets forward too a bit if he's playing.
It was
So-
Jermaine Brown, but they sold him
They sold him.
for Ahmed.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really up to you guys. I mean, like I have like this certain amount of ennui when it comes to defenders this year. So whatever. I'm like pick who you like. What's up, Tyler? Go for it.
All right. So I currently have Blake or Celentano and Fry, kind of like you. But I'm slightly rethinking my front end. Now, I love Blake, and the reason I love Blake so much is because they actually, I believe, hold up, let me get this stat right before I actually say it. In the games that Andre Blake has actually finished this year, he's never mind. It's not the stat that I thought it was. But he has 4 clean sheets in games that he's actually finished this year, which is pretty dang good. And
How
they're
many games has he
playing
finished this year?
1, 2, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh,
4 clean
that's not.
sheets and
That's,
7 finished
you're right.
games.
That's pretty good.
I thought it was a higher number. That's why I was gonna say that. But
Still pretty good.
I'm also considering Columbus, so like a Schulte or Hagen, whichever one starts, because they're just so stout defensively. I think that game versus Orlando was kind of a fluke game for them because they've been rotating so much, and they This is the first game that they have not had Zawadzki in since Aiden Morris was sold. Period. Which is pretty shocking to think that they allowed 3 goals after that. Or
Well,
because
didn't they go
Zawadzki
down a
wasn't
man?
there. No, they were never down a man.
Oh, that was a different one.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about that
No.
travesty of.
No, that was Seattle. Yeah, I know about that game.
Yeah.
My
I bet
defenders.
you do.
My defenders this week, I do have a Wazium right now. He could be a Columbus defender instead, depending on if I go a Columbus defender. But I like Awazium because he's been getting so much into the attack that he's getting assists. And that's
Mhm.
why I think he's worth taking a look at. And then just like you, I also have Wagner and Alba. I feel like they're pretty chalky. And then Reagan is a pretty good fallback this week. He's scrubbable, but he's also a pretty solid, like 4, even if he doesn't score a goal. I'm also gonna throw this out there, and you guys can laugh at me all you want. I think the differential defense this week is going to be Chicago. I think Chicago will
that's
hold
not
a clean
crazy.
sheet. I think they will hold a clean sheet this week against Toronto. And hey, if Andrew Gutman's playing, he's gonna be in my team. That guy can hit bombs. But that's realistically the only defender that I would want on that team. I just think that they might pull off a clean sheet. Reid, who do you have?
So you guys have coded a lot of the high points. So I'm on the chalk keeperoo this week, I will say, and that is the Blake Fry switcheroo. It's 100% chalk. Looking at some of the other options, I've seen a few in chat. Others I'm just going to talk just to cover what everybody else might be, not everyone else, others who are listening to the pod may be thinking. I know people have gone to Vancouver recently. They've had some clean sheets. People have liked that. They've given us 2 the last 2 times they played. But this is a Cascadia game against Portland, and it's coming right after a Canadian Championship game. So that's so much stuff that just makes me hesitant to go with a keeperoo that has the back end being Vancouver. And with those being the 2 latest games, that's really going to limit your options for that time slot, unless you're going to go with just previewing half of a 7:30 game before going with another option there. I've seen people talk about Berkey in chat, and I've seen him pop up in some teams online as well, where people are just leaning into Sporting Kansas City having that Open Cup game and coming back from that. There's just so many goals against St. Louis in so many games before this that I just have so much hesitation to relying on Berkey, even against SKC and what could be heavy rotations. It's just so much risk. Like the shout for Columbus on the road. I think that's another one that I could have with the toss-up. DC was shut out already, and so I like them. I like them as a road clean sheet option. And I think your thought, Tyler, of I'm just going to throw them on the bench, whoever is starting, see what happens. I mean, look at the lineup, see what they've got with the defense in front of them. But if it's a good looking team, sure. Why not? Let's roll that dice. I'd be willing to do that. We've often gone back to New York Red Bulls. That defense has not been as solid. And then I mentioned Montreal. And so I've seen some people talk about Sirius in chat as well. And it goes to back what I was just saying, that they held the clean sheet against Chicago, who, even though you're saying they're going to go and have a clean sheet against Toronto, that's not really giving them very high points for their. I mean, that could be 0-0 in that game.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it could be 0-0. So I do kind of put San Jose kind of in that same grouping with Chicago. So Montreal did it last week. They could have a shot of doing it again if you wanted to use that as your front end instead of Blake, if you had some worries right there. I mean, I think you've got some solid reasoning for why you might want to go with that. Maybe it's a bit more risky. Well, it's definitely a bit more risky since it's not going to be the chalk, but it could have a good reward. So if you're fighting for some final points right there. On the other side with defenders, my usual strategy, as I know many of you also follow. I'm just matching up my defenders with the goalkeepers and the teams that I like right there. So I've got Wagner, I've got Reagan, I've got Alba. The Alba's not so much for the clean sheet chance for the offense. If he doesn't start, I don't know if I'd go to Gressel. I've not been super impressed with Gressel this week. I would probably just go for somebody else from Columbus or Montreal instead. Maybe just roll with 3 keepers this round. If you like any of those other teams like St. Louis, if you're really feeling that Berkey's going to be your guy, I mean, I could see you pairing up there. For me, it's too risky, but those are sort of the 5 teams that I'd look at right now, just kind of off the top. Otherwise, I think we've covered everybody else. And you look like you want to say something, Tyler.
I was gonna say my hesitancy on Berkey, even though I do think SKC scores, any of the 5:30 games, it's so tight to get to that 7:30 that you do have the extra time overlapping. Like it goes to 90 by the time the 7:30 locks, but any added time, you can't trust that. That's why I'm hesitant on those, and I would prefer a 4:30.
I'd
Sorry,
also like to add
7:30.
something. Oh yeah, Eastern time zone. If Andres Herrera starts, it's gonna be hard for me not to take him. Throw him on my bench. I might actually pivot to Schulte too if he starts. But yeah, Herrera, Andres Herrera. Remember that. He dropped a 14 last Wednesday.
Okay. Well, let's move on to talking about
Yeah,
midfielders.
Tyler, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh no, I'm laughing at what Reid said.
You gotta go to
Oh.
chat. Chat's the fun time. Let's move on to talking about midfielders. And Tyler, since you are so hot on the midfielders, kick us off.
Yeah, I have a lot of midfielders that I could pick this week. I love both sides of the New England game, so I have both Heel and a Mukhtar right now. I love both sides of that a lot. I've been high on Mihailovic for a long time. I'm still high on him. Sorry, Christian, but I think he's gonna score again against Minnesota. Mihailovic is just red hot right now. Even if it's just a PK, this guy is still gonna score like a 7 to 10,
Well,
if not more.
I wish somebody would have told him that the last 2 games.
He did score 11 last game.
Yeah, well, it wasn't enough. All right,
I
so
know.
Go ahead.
Trust me, I know. I captained him. So I like Mihailovic, Heel, and Mukhtar. I have Lucho right now, even after all my Orishano talking up. I think it would be kind of between those two, but Lucho seems more like the pick. And then I'm gonna be a Sounders fan, and I'm gonna pick Rusnak. I think Rusnak is an amazing play this week, even though they're playing Houston, because although a lot of you were really frustrated by his one game that I actually went to, haha, that's why he didn't score. His 5 against SKC, I still think that Rusnak is a very solid play week in and week out. I also really like Gazdag this week, so I'm trying to figure out a way to fit in Gazdag, whether that means getting rid of Lucho, getting rid of Mukhtar, one of those two. I love their matchup, and Gazdag is my guy. I kind of talked him up earlier, but Eric Tommy likes to score against rivalry teams. He likes to just be that guy that randomly pops up and scores goals. So even though they are playing in US Open Cup, I think Tommy is like worth a look. Probably won't be on any teams, but worth a look. Marcel Hartel for St. Louis on the other side of that rivalry, definitely worth a look. Although it seems to be Two-Shirt who's kind of the guy now. I feel like Hartel is worth a look at least. And then I have to say this for Black and Red. Let's take a look at Christian Espinoza this week too. They are playing Montreal, and I know that Reid just talked up Montreal's defense, but I just kind of want to throw in Christian Espinosa's name because we haven't said his name in a long time.
Did I really
There's
talk
a reason
up their
for that,
defense, or was I more just being like, this is an interesting thing that I'd look at? I mean,
I
is there a
mean,
line?
it's a very fine line.
Okay,
But
I've said enough that I can get
yeah.
grief for it next week. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
answer Simpleton's question though with that. I'd prefer Espinosa over Marienchuk this week. Would I take him on my team? No. But I think he's a fun play. Christian, who do you have?
Well, I do have Hartel. Based on some feedback that you just gave earlier, I had Mukhtar, and I faded him just like 5 minutes ago for Hartel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, don't laugh, but I have, yeah, I know. I have Lewis Morgan on my bench. And the reason I have Morgan on my bench is because New York City is going to have Maxi Morales playing in midfield. Like, that's it. No Santi, no scramble. They might have, Sands playing at center back because
they will have, not might have, they will have.
Yeah, because they're missing Riza, and they're going to miss that T guy that you were trying to pronounce that I'm not even going to try to pronounce.
Tahasevic.
Well, now you got it. What the heck? All right. You've been practicing in your mind.
I have been.
So yeah, that guy, he's out, and Rissa's out. So they just have Thiago Martins and probably Will Sands. Well, like what Tyler said, it'll be Will Sands. And even though Sands is passable, I kind of feel like Morgan, it's the Hudson River Derby. I kind of feel like New York Red Bulls are going to come in there kind of angry because they're not getting the results that they want. They think
Why
they're
not
better
Forsberg?
than
Forsberg is back.
He isn't back.
He is back. It was confirmed by his coach that he's back this week.
So he's going to be in. He's
going to be in training. I'm not saying he's starting, but he will be in training.
Okay.
Which means that he will be available.
Okay. So like 5 minutes of Forsberg.
Sure.
I mean,
that's enough for a Hattie.
Well, all right. So I watched Forsberg constantly, like when he was with Leipzig, and he is capable of that. He is like a Marco Reus player. Like he can come on, he can either shit the bed royally, or he can drop a hat trick on you in 5 minutes. It's literally like that. So I don't know. He's been out an awful long time. I don't know if that team is going to gel. I'm just going to go ahead and say he's going to be a non-factor this week. Okay. But he might be. I don't know. The point is, Red Bulls, they're going to go into New York, or they're going to go into their own place, and they're going to host New York City that's depleted in strength and probably score a goal. I mean, it'll be awesome. I mean, it'll be like for the ages if they score a goal. I know they scored a goal last week, but I mean, it's rare for the New York Red Bulls. So I have Morgan. Hopefully he tears it up like he did at the beginning of the season without Forsberg in there. I have, okay, so I could change that, by the way. I have Lucho. I have Heel. I have Gauld, because I really do think that Gauld's going to start. He was rested earlier. He was rested this last game. He came on late and kind of, jogged around a little bit.
He was rested for the Canadian Championship.
Correct. And he'll play the Canadian Championship for sure. But I do expect Gauld to start. He might come off after 60, but against Portland, yeah, that's all he needs. So those are my mids. Reid, who you got?
You guys have already covered, I think, all of the ones that are worth looking at this week. I'm looking at a Cincinnati midfielder. I think I'd be on board with potentially going with Oriano, but likely going with Lucho, especially depending on what happens with LAFC midweek. Rusnak, Hartel, Heel, Gold. Debated Mukhtar. I think you could have Mukhtar as a fifth option, or maybe as one of your Aru options if you, because he has had some consistency in this last group going up against New England, who has been dropping some goals, not very consistent. Still, I think there's some better options. I think Gold for me is on the fence, especially with the midweek game that they have as well. But I like a lot of the options that you guys have covered. I thought the Red Bulls is an interesting one, seeing how much is missing for New York City FC. There just hasn't been a lot of that production for the Red Bulls, which I wish I could see some more going in and bringing in Forsberg back and seeing how those minutes might work out. Not really sure how that's going to play out, but I think you guys have mentioned lots of good options there. It's a pretty good week for midfielders, so a lot of the usual suspects are in the lineup right now. Let's wrap everything up with forwards. Christian, who do you have?
Oh, I got Messi, Baribo, and then it's toss up for me. Probably Fafa, Pico, Brian White, Jonathan Rodriguez, Kelvin Yeboah. I do want to homer out and take Yeboah. He's scored in almost every game he's played, so seems like a good bet. Colorado's not really that stout on the road, so he might actually be a really good play. So it's one of those. Messi and Baribo are probably nailed. That's one of those last four. Case could be made for any one of them. Who you got, Tyler?
I have the goat, Baribo. The goat and Baribo, I should say. I have Messi, I have Baribo, and I have Jonathan Rodriguez for Portland because when Evander is out, guess who plays the 10? Jonathan Rodriguez.
Jonathan? Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay, taking that guy out and putting Jonathan.
That would be why I have Jonathan Rodriguez this week. Now, that's not to say there's not a lot of other pretty solid forward options this week.
Actually, hang on, Tyler. I have to challenge that because my backup, if Gall doesn't start, my pivot is going to be Santi Moreno. I thought Santi Moreno played the 10 when Evander's out.
I've always seen Jonah drop back to the 10 because Santi's a winger.
Well, he wasn't last year. Okay. I mean, I don't know for sure. Maybe
last year it was Eric Williamson that played the 10 when Evander was out.
Say what?
It was Eric Williamson that played the 10 last year. I just rocked your world, huh?
What?
You're like, who's that? Hold on.
No, I know who Eric Williamson is.
That's only the player that Black and Red despises DC for getting rid of.
Yeah, I know. I'm very aware of who he is. I'm just like, I've never seen him play the 10 before.
He has played the 10 a lot.
Yeah. Well, maybe
anyways.
that's because Portland can't keep shape for shit. So I don't know. Anyway, go on.
Anyways, some backup forward options. I say backup like they're not very good. Cucho or Rossi. They are very good forward options. Now, will they start? Probably not. Rossi might start. Will he play a full past 45 minutes? Probably not, after seeing what Wilfred Nancy does. Can you tell he was on my team last week? Bawanga is always still a pretty decent shout, even though they have that midweek game. Because Cincy's defense, honestly, isn't amazing. Sorry, Reid. Partnering up Suarez with Messi is always an option. Vrioni or Surridge. I told you I like both sides of that New England Nashville game. I think it's gonna be like 2-2, 3-2, something like that. It's gonna be a lot of
7 to
goals.
6.
It could be. And then just to make everybody laugh, how about like a Montreal forward? Joseph
I thought about
Martinez.
it. I did. I did. And I couldn't decide which one was going to start. So I didn't think about it anymore.
A Joseph Martinez, a Kokoro, and a Poku. I I mean, they are all decent options against the worst team in the league, San Jose.
Vilsant is pretty good, even. Like,
Yeah.
like any one of those guys could actually do some damage. So I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just who the heck is he going to pick?
I don't know. That's all to say there are a lot of good forward options. So I feel like if you want to get a differential this week, forward is your way to find one of your differentials to gain rank in your standings.
Or you can, take advantage of the Caden Clark brace.
You could, I guess,
Hashtag
Get-
book it. Okay.
get that team value going up. Yeah.
Yep. Kate. Actually, I have something to say about Caden Clark. Do not take Caden Clark unless he has been properly shifted in the game to Montreal, because you will risk not getting his points. There's a glitch in the game with him.
Also,
So don't pick Caden Clark unless he has been officially switched to Montreal.
Also, speaking of gaining budget, how many of us are above $200 salary or 200 mil salary now?
That's my goal.
Just me?
Let's see, what am I at?
I'm at 203 and a half.
Oh, stop flexing.
Wow.
All right, so actually, I'm just above it.
186.
Whoa.
Oh, wait. No, I'm not just above it. I'm just shy of it.
Ooh.
Math is hard. Oh, man, Tyler, you're just so much.
Ashley's
if
probably
Ashley
at like
was on here-
215.
Yeah, if Ashley was on here, she'd be like, you guys are terrible. Bunch of amateurs. Yeah, that's what she'd be saying.
Pretty much. So
You know what she's at?
no, we'll find out next week. We'll find out where she's at next week. Really chalk with the forwards, Messi, Baribo. The interesting thing about Baribo is that potentially messes up your, again, I mentioned this a week or two ago. I love the 3-player limit because this is a week where we've talked about Philly players in every position. Blake and Wagner and Gazdag and Baribo. You're going to have to give up something someplace. And so for me, I'd be more likely to swap Blake out and go with one of the other keepers that we've talked about to keep Baribo there. But the Messi Baribo, very, very chalk. The third one is is always going to be the pivot this week with all these options. I don't know if this would be a round to just take the flyer with 2 forwards. I think you would still want to have one on your bench to see. I like having J-Rod as your forward because that does give you the option to preview some points and decide if you want to go with 2 forwards. So I think that's very good use of that slot. I thought about Surridge. Because he's got 3 goals and assist or 2 goals, 2 assists, something like that in his last. He's got those offensive actions in these last 3 games. But he's only had 2 shots in each of his last 3 games. So he's not getting a lot of shots. And Nashville is the second lowest in the league of teams generating shots on target. So they're not getting a lot of shots. Now, New England is in the top 5 of teams who have allowed goals. So they are also not great at defending. But the question does come is there another third forward who's going to have a better chance of getting some of those goals than Surridge might? And so,
I mean, Vrioni on the other side of that had 6 shots last game on the road.
That's what you can consider against. Like you said, that game's going to be 7-7. It just keeps climbing. Right there. The Suarez is a good call.
We're gonna have a record by
I am very worried about Columbus options. I get it if you want to roll with whomever starts and just go with that guy. I do worry about their rotation at this point of the year, especially since Cucho didn't start either
And
of
still scored a 20.
of those games. So, which you could come right off and do that. Maybe that's why you want Cucho on your bench.
I mean,
And
look,
then go for there. Put
they're
Cucho on
playing
your bench and
DC
J-Rod in the
United.
field. They are. DC dropped
Yeah.
4 to Philly
He'll
last
drop.
week.
He'll drop a brace at least.
So see, that's what you could do. Messi, J-Rod on there, Kucher on the bench, and see what happens, and then just
Yeah.
scrub out J-Rod. You could easily do that.
Could
Could
that.
easily do that, and you'd still have a very strong competitive forward lineup right there. So, so I guess my point here is talking a little bit less about who I'm picking and more about how you might set up your team to be able to take advantage of some of these Arus that you're going to be able to use this year. Otherwise, a lot of these players have already been mentioned, and I think they all make sense depending on how you're going to build your team. All right, let's wrap everything up with our captain's picks. Christian, who are you looking at?
Messi.
Tyler.
And my backup is Panic.
Panic. Tyler.
Wagner. No. I'm looking at Messi.
Yeah, I'm also on Messi. And so, who is your backup? Since Christian's is Panic, who is your backup captain?
My backup is either Heel or probably, now that I'm looking at it, maybe J-Rod, maybe Rusnak. Like, it's between those three: Heel, Rusnak, and J-Rod.
Yeah, I could see that. I would be probably looking at. I mean, I'd be willing to potentially go with Gazdag which is how Atlanta's been. Heel's really strong. I haven't settled on the backup captain there. I would lean towards a midfielder though, just to see how that is. But it's on Messi right now, and we'll see about how the conversations go throughout the round. But I'd probably lean. I don't think I would go Lucho, but who knows if I'm feeling squirrely. But yeah, I have it on Messi, and then we'll see where it finally lands. You have to have a backup. This is Monday. We're still thinking through the options, looking forward for some more stats, some clean sheet possibilities to help some of that become more solidified. But you absolutely need to have that backup option with all the rotations going on. Going to chat real quick. Yeah, Messi with Baribo as a backup. Yeah, that could work.
Panic's not an option. Okay.
That could, yeah. Well, you'll see both of those lineups come down, so you could easily roll with that. That kind of speaks to the heel or to the Gazdag pivot that I was considering. So yeah, very nice, very nice. Well, that's all that we have for the show tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's wrap everything up with our plugs. Tyler.
I guess I will.
Every week,
plug...
man. Every week.
I know. I thought Christian was going first.
You switched around with the windows, and so there you are.
I will plug the article, since that seems to be the go-to, and then, you know what? I'm also gonna plug Draft League because I don't think that's gotten a plug at all this year. I'm one of the admins for Draft League, along with Blaine, who is a long-time partner in fantasy on the pod. And if anybody's interested in signing up, we are looking for a wait list for next year. So if you're interested, please hit me up on Discord. I am Ranchinator on Discord.
Christian.
I want to plug Ranchinator on Discord because he's got an insane overall rank, and I'm proud of you, kid. OR12, even though you dropped a little this week, come on, man. This has to be your most epic season ever.
Yeah, full season.
Yeah. So anyway, everybody drop by the Fantasy MLS, the MLS Fantasy Boss, whatever word salad Discord server name we have. MLS Fantasy Boss Discord. Reid, what is it? MLS Fantasy Boss Discord.
MLSFantasyBoss.com/Discord.
Yeah, that. Anyway, so everybody
Link in the bio.
Drop by. Everybody drop by and say hi to Ranchinator because he deserves some credit.
I'm about to get pinged like crazy.
That's gonna be awesome. I will, of
because
course.
everybody listens to what I say. Come on.
I will, of course, just plug MLSFantasyBoss.com straight up, where we have the collection of articles. We're going to look to expand some next year. We'll see about getting some more traction there with that. Speaking of that, we are going to be having our annual fantasy survey, the feedback survey, coming out very soon. Working on finalizing those questions. Going to send it out to the admin team soon to get their thoughts on that. That feedback will go to MLS. I can't tell you if they're going to do anything with it, but with the connections that we have, we are absolutely going to send the feedback that we collect from the players to MLS for anything that they want to do or thinking about doing for next year. Our feedback has been taken into consideration when changes have been made, both good and bad changes, and some of them have been rolled back. So, I mean, they have considered that feedback. So please do consider giving your feedback. Please do give your feedback. The survey will not all be required. Some key questions will be, but then there'll be some general feedback for the game and for the products that we put out with the MLS Fantasy Boss team. So that will be coming out very soon. So please do participate and send your feedback to us. It's so very valuable. Other than that, the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord, fantastic community. We can't plug it enough, and so you should absolutely be going there if you are not, even when the season is over, because we only have 3 rounds left. That community is still active and talking about general soccer and just having a general good time as we bridge the gap to the next season. So thank you once again for joining us. We're getting close to the end of the season. I hope you are still having fun. We will be with you for the entire way, and as always, good luck.
As always, good luck.
Recording
Are you mo-
stopped.
Are you mocking him?
No, I was thinking about literally the last